Pain and fatigue from fibromyalgia can feel like a relentless attack. It's like you can never quite get your head above water, and even medications don't always address every issue. But did you know there may be things you are doing every day that are actually making your fibromyalgia worse? Well, obviously not, otherwise you wouldn't do them. Today I'm going to share with you the 5 things you may be inadvertently doing that is making your fibromyalgia pain worse, how simple changes can make big differences, and how your Fibro Meds may actually be hurting more than helping. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Ortiz, and this is Connected Rheumatology. Let's get started. One of the most common issues I see in those with fibromyalgia is not paying enough attention to their diet. How we nourish our bodies, of course, has an impact on our pain and fibro, and not paying attention to how certain foods and meals affect us can leave us feeling like our symptoms are random, when in fact they are being triggered. There is still a lot we need to learn about fibromyalgia. Is it an autoimmune condition? Is there inflammation, and if so, where? And why does it not show up in our blood test? What causes it? Viruses? Food? Trauma? Hormonal changes? We still have so many questions and very few definitive answers. What we do know is that the pain of fibro is related to a hypersensitized nervous system, meaning the nerves of our body are too sensitive to pain and end up sending pain signals to our brain even when there is no reason. Because there is still so much we don't know about fibromyalgia, it is hard, if not impossible, to make blanket statements about which diet or diet change will ease pain in everyone. But I can tell you, as someone who is taking care of a lot of people with fibromyalgia, that how we eat can definitely impact our quality of life and day-to-day pain. Common fibro symptom triggers can be sugar, red meat, high salt intake, or other ultra-processed foods. If we aren't paying attention, it's very easy for a classic Western diet to be high in all of these things, which can lead to fibromyalgia symptoms that feel out of control. So how can we approach this? Well, with trial and error and some grace. Start by just taking a few weeks to observe your usual diet. How often do you cook versus eat out? How do you feel after you eat out? Do you cook with pre-made ingredients that have added sugar? Do you feel swollen after certain meals? Then look for some easy changes, like can you decrease your restaurant meals by 1 meal per week? Can you swap out ingredients with added sugar for something else? And then finally, pay attention to what you're drinking. So many of my fibromyalgia patients are chronically dehydrated, which can exacerbate headaches, fatigue, and pain. How much alcohol and coffee, 2 things known to aggravate dehydration, do you drink, and how much water do you usually have? It's very rare for me to come across someone with fibromyalgia who has great sleep. Almost everyone tells me their sleep is horrible and has been horrible for years. Sleep is our body's time to reset, and when night after night it's deprived of sleep, well, it can do a number on our nervous system. Sleep problems can actually predate fibromyalgia symptoms, leading some to consider chronic poor sleep a cause of fibro. Similar to with diet changes, my recommendation is to start by paying attention. Do you have trouble falling asleep, or are you waking up multiple times at night? Are you sleeping too far into the day and taking too long of naps? Are racing thoughts or anxiety keeping you up? Do you snore, or have people told you that you stop breathing at night? There can be a number of issues that all result in poor sleep, so paying attention is an important first step when putting together a plan that's going to work for you. Sleeping pills, or lorazepam, like in White Lotus, may knock you out, but they don't lead to the rest your body needs. By refusing to address your sleep, you are setting yourself up for persistent fibromyalgia symptoms. Other interventions, whether it be diet changes or medications, can only do so much if you aren't sleeping. By discussing with your doctor the observations from the questions that I suggested, you can start to address this. Even a 10% improvement in sleep time or quality can make a big impact on how you feel. Like I've said, we still have a lot to learn and a long way to go when it comes to successful medications for fibromyalgia. Because our current options aren't great, there has been a lot of research into non-pharmaceutical means to control fibro pain, and over again, movement has been shown to be a winner. And the lack of movement can do the opposite. Fibro can lead to a fear of exercise. We get scared we'll overdo it or we'll hurt ourselves. This can lead to us becoming more and more inactive. The inactivity then leads to stiffer joints and weaker muscles, which can then lead to more pain and thus creates a vicious cycle. Not moving, not having a regular movement routine is definitely making your fibromyalgia worse. This doesn't mean you need to immediately sign up for a gym and get yourself a trainer, although if that's your thing, God bless. But it does mean you need to look for ways to incorporate more movement into your daily life. Can you start parking further away so you have to walk more? Can you take a flight of stairs when you would have taken the elevator? Can you start some morning or nighttime stretches? Your body wants to move, and without it, it will start to feel stuck, literally. Our nervous system is constantly balancing between our sympathetic drives, which are our fight or flight response that keeps us safe from charging bears, and our parasympathetic drives, which allows us to rest and digest. When our sympathetic nervous system is activated, we are on high alert. We are literally in survival mode. Our blood gets diverted to our hearts and brains, our heart beats faster, and our gut all but stops, as digesting food is not the priority when you're running away from a tiger. This system has kept us alive for thousands of years, but in our modern life, it may be doing the opposite. Alerts, notifications, commutes, jobs, responsibilities, it all can trigger our sympathetic nervous system, making us feel like we are always on high alert, because we are. This system is built to come on in bursts, not to be chronically activated. Living with this system on all the time can trigger this oversensitization to pain, making our fibromyalgia worse. Because modern life is built to trigger this fight or flight system, we have to actively look for ways to turn it off and trigger that parasympathetic or rest and digest system. We have to build respites into our everyday lives that will allow our nervous system to calm down. I'll repeat that. Everyday life. Waiting for the weekend or that big vacation just simply doesn't cut it. The alerts, notifications, and stress these days is just too much. We have to combat it actively. Fibromyalgia thrives in that sympathetic nervous system juices. So in order for fibro symptoms to become more controllable, we have to calm the sympathetic nervous system. So how can we do that? Well, the quickest and the most surefire way is to take regular breaks throughout the day to breathe. It may sound silly and overly simple, but it works. We can get in our heads about meditation, and believe me, I know how hard it can be to institute a regular meditation practice. But breathing is something we can all do. 5 deep belly breaths once an hour on the hour will trigger to your system it's time to calm down. There are a million other ways you can trigger your parasympathetic nervous system or vagus nerve, and that's a rabbit hole I can get behind you falling down. But just like diet and sleep, I like starting simple, and deep belly breathing does the trick. And then finally, I want to discuss something that your doctor may not bring up, which is the medication you are taking for fibromyalgia may actually be making the symptoms worse. There are 3 FDA-approved Fibro Meds, each focused on a different aspect of the nervous system. In many people, these medications can make a substantial difference. They can ease the pain just enough to allow someone to focus their energies on the many lifestyle changes that we know can help as well. But in some, they can exacerbate fatigue and brain fog. This is especially true if too high of a dose is started too soon. The name of the game is starting with a low dose and titrating up slowly so you don't end up overdoing it. We are looking for that sweet spot where symptoms are improved without adding more problems. This is not to say that medications can't be a part of a successful fibromyalgia care plan. They absolutely can. But just like everything else, the medications need to be tended to. We can't just start them and then forget about them. It is not our fault when we develop fibromyalgia, and it is not our fault when we have a flare. But it does demand that we take a look at how we are living our lives and pay attention to what may not be serving us anymore. There is still a lot we have to learn, but it's clear that how we live our lives can have a huge impact on our pain and other fibromyalgia symptoms. I hope you found this helpful. If you want to learn more about the pain of fibromyalgia, what we call nociplastic pain, I recommend watching this video next. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.